Hi, Mike Kennedy here. We're just making a couple comparisons here between the Minolta 16.2 that took 16mm film and the Minox, which took a kind of proprietary size film of about around 9mm. Now, surprisingly, the difference in the size of the camera, this has like an 8 by 10 format of the actual area of the negative, and this one only has a 10 by 14. Now this one had 16mm film. It was designed to work with double sprocketed film. So in other words, you can just get 16mm film easily at the time. You still can really. And you would just cut it to a length, put it in the cartridge, and you could load your own. Whereas with the Minox, you run into more of a problem. You either have to buy it from the factory or slit it yourself. Now, of course, the only option is to slit it yourself. Well, I shouldn't say that. There are people who will slit it for you. There are some people making it. But Minox per se isn't actually involved in making film for the Minox cameras at all. They're basically, I don't know, Minox has basically disappeared. They're still technically a company with a brand name, but they don't do cameras. They have some optical things like binoculars and things, and I don't even know if they make those. They're probably just leasing the name to someone. Minox didn't really survive the digital era. I was surprised because I thought they always would. You know, when you think of something like a Leica camera, and then you think of sub-miniatures, you would think of the Minox. And I just never, or Minox, I think it's pronounced Minox, but I've learned it the other way, so that's why I'm going to say it. I never thought they would really drop in value. Now these cameras were so rugged and so simply made that you can just pick up a lot of these that still work. If you find one that doesn't work, you can go find another one that does work. Not quite as easy with the Minox. To have this camera professionally CLA, clean, lubed, and adjusted, is probably going to cost you about $250. Now you can get a Minox B like this for about $100. The time this was gifted to me, it was worth about $260. But like I say, with the drop and film type cameras, and the fact that so many of these Model Bs were made and they're still around and operating, the price is lower. Also, this has a light meter on it, but they tend to not have lost their sensitivities, so probably it isn't going to be as accurate as you want it to be. And these types of cells would lose their sensitivity if they were exposed to a lot of light. So if you were to get a camera that had been in the case for a long time, or in a drawer where it was dark, the meter might still be halfway decent. We'll do some comparisons in a video between a light meter and what this says. Now this camera was going to take about 20 frames, and this one could actually take 50 at one time. Now one of the uses for these films was copying documents. Well, I'm getting too far ahead of myself. Let's look at what we have for adjustments here. They both advance the film by opening the camera. Now they're opening and closing it engages the film and moves it to the next spot. With the Minolta 2, you have fixed focusing. We talked about the lenses that change that to some degree. We have F numbers and shutter speeds. Okay. Now with the Minox, we have quite a different concept here. We have only one F number of 3.5. And I think basically the idea behind this was they kind of designed it for its optimal sharpness, and so that's why they use that F number rather than 5.6 or something like that. And to make up for that, we have a lot of different shutter speeds here. It goes up to 1/1000th of a second, and also we have built into this model a neutral density filter that we can engage by, see, here's how you open it, and you can see, let me get a little closer here. You can see here there's a yellow filter, and I keep going further, there's a neutral density filter. So there, with that, I can be out in bright light and still take photographs, because obviously with the lens not being able to be stopped down, that will become a problem in bright light. And the yellow filter, of course, was used for black and white, not for color. This one, as we showed, came with a yellow filter as well. You could get a yellow filter with it. A little, my other videos about this. There's your yellow filter with this. And then we had the 2 close-up lenses and a distance lens, which allowed it to keep infinity in focus at all time. The depth of field of this camera is quite amazing. And so you can set it to such a way so that 6 feet to infinity will be in focus all the time. Now the cameras are both quite heavy, and I'm going to weigh them. I'm going to keep the flash bracket on it, and in this one I'm going to keep the chain. The function of the chain was a measurement device. There's 8 inches, I think 10 inches, a foot, and then there's another bead. I forget what those distances are, but this would mean that you could sit there by holding this taut. You could measure very accurately for a close-up distance, like copying a document. And these cameras were used by spies, and they were used by spies much later than you would think as well. So let's weigh them up. We will turn the scale on. So here we've got 112 grams. They feel about the same weight to me, but oh no, this one's the Minolta 16 is quite a bit heavier at 198 grams. So I just always wanted to do that to get an idea. Oh, I don't have all the chain on there. I was going to say, it lost weight already. Too bad I couldn't do that. But there, 112 grams with the chain.